let's count and see how many Spider-Man things I own. I got you, got a little Spider-Man pin. It swings. Got these two little dudes right there. Miles, Iron Spider. I don't really know. He was just cool. More Miles, more Spider-Man, but this one's Andrew. Hi, Andrew. Got another Spider-Man over here. I got another Spider-Man over here, but this one has a Christmas sweater on. Got another one. Got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Got this notebook, that's Spider-Man. We got that notebook, that's Spider-Man. We got all of these that are Spider-Man. That binder, Spider-Man. 1, 2, 3. There's an Iron Man and a Captain America somewhere in this room, but there's these guys. Spider-Man scissors. I haven't used these yet because I don't want to. I want to keep them forever. But these are technically Marvel, but they got Spider-Man on them. I put my phone on this. I just look at him. I put trash in here. I wear you. I have 2 more pairs, Venom, Carnage, and Miles. So I guess that's 3 pairs. I wear them often. I got undies, but those are unmentionables. You can't see those. I got a plethora of Spider-Man on this sweater. Of course, no collection's complete without their Spider-Man jacket and Spider-Man freaking onesie, of which, why am I not wearing it for this? Hold up. There we go. Hello, my little filmer dudes. My name is Montero, and thank you for joining me in my journey to watch every TV show ever created. Not really, but we are gonna get close. Very clearly, I'm a Spider-Man fan. I've read a lot of the comics growing up. I've watched the movies. I've played the games. I actually haven't seen all of the Spider-Man shows in full. I've seen a good handful of episodes in each show, so there's that. Regardless, I thought that Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, from its first reports, was a bad idea. Especially after they released the synopsis, which said that Peter was going to get bitten by a spider that goes through a Doctor Strange sparkly circle. Already I'm like, oh hell no. Oh hell no! Originally, this was supposed to be the MCU Spider-Man origin story. I was okay with that, and then it was announced that the show was actually being delayed and that was no longer being tied to the MCU, and that it was just another Spider-Man show. And it was being retitled from freshman year to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Honestly, I was more or less okay with this, but I still didn't like that it seemed majorly MCU-ified. And then the promos weren't doing it for me. I already didn't like what they were doing with the character of Spider-Man. I just genuinely didn't think that this would be good, but I wanted to keep an open mind because I didn't want to be a hater. I didn't want to hate watch something and then hate cover it. Sorry. Let me do that more professionally. I saw a hair in my eye. I wanted to keep an open mind when watching this show because I didn't want to be a hater. I didn't want to hate watch it. If I didn't like it, I was just going to stay silent on it. But after seeing the first 2 episodes, I'm happy to say that I was wrong. Okay, let's first start out with what I didn't actually like about the show. There's only 3 or 4 things that I didn't like about the show. The first thing is the art style. In some places, it feels incomplete to me. Other places seems very fluid, and it seems like, wow, that's actually a really good shot. But then there are other bits that just seem so stiff, seem so clunky, and it just seems incomplete to me. I think if I were the creative director on this, I would say, let's see what we could do to make this a little bit more fluid, I suppose. And I think it's also because there's no shadows sometimes. So like when people are running across a street, there's really no shadows on the ground. So there's a disconnect. And I think that's only because I'm a graphic designer by major and trade. So I see these things. It's a tiny little nitpick. I think I'm gonna warm up to it. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like the change in origin. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I kind of see and understand why if this was supposed to be the MCU origin, but I don't like the implications, and I can't get into it without spoilers. The origin was handled well for the most part. I just don't see a need for the change. So, and then the theme song, I'm still very indifferent on it because it's just a remix of the the 1967 Spider-Man TV show. And they already did that for the MCU, so it just seems gimmicky now. And I'm all for good nostalgia bait, but it seems like lately that's the only thing that MCU and DC can do, and it's not that fun anymore. I want things to have their own identity. Ugh. The theme songs is the most important part of a TV show, and if it's not a good theme song or it's just a rehash of old theme songs, I'm looking at you, Power Rangers, then it's not gonna fully work as a memorable theme song. So this is not really gonna be that memorable. It's kind of cheesy if you ask me, and honestly, that's a win for me. This could have been bad, but it's just 3 little nitpicks, because honestly, they are just nitpicks. They're my criticisms, but they're more nitpicks than anything. So that's a win. With that so far, it's only been 2 episodes, but those are the ones that matter the most. If they can't hook you with just 2 episodes, you won't be coming back. And I'm glad to say that these first 2 episodes ends with a nice hook. Nothing that you haven't seen in other media before, honestly, but the implications are enough to bring you back each week, at least for me. And not just that, the show feels right. Hear me out. There's been a lot of discussion online recently about how live action Spider-Man should actually be a TV show and not a movie. How a TV show might actually work better given that there's more time, there's more space to really dive into the nature that encompasses Spider-Man. Only 2 hours is barely enough time to really chip the surface that makes Spider-Man Spider-Man and makes Peter Parker Peter Parker. The movies are fun in of themselves, yes, but when it comes to the MCU Spider-Man, he's basically just Spider-Man in name only. Tom's a great actor, that is a fact, but his Peter Parker is horribly written. And I was honestly worried that they were going to give the same treatment to this Spider-Man, again, because they were supposed to be connected. But nope, that's not the case. As a Spider-Man fan, I'm geeking out. Truth be told, I think y'all were onto something. After just 2 episodes, I think I want a Peter Parker Spider-Man live action show, and I want it done well. I know we're gonna get an Amazon and Spider-Noir later this year, but that's not the traditional Peter Parker. But hey, if that works out well, then maybe anything is possible now lately. Now, don't get me wrong, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is far from perfect, but it's surprisingly good. Honestly, the best way to describe this show is that the first 2 episodes feel like chapters to me rather than episodes. There's a central focus on the story that's happening here, and there's no filler disrupting the flow of the story. Everything feels right. Everything feels like it's progressing naturally, which is awesome. This show is low-key a drama comedy. It's a dramedy because guess what? The Spider-Man comics were never actually comedies. They were always dramedies. You know how much crap happens to my boy Peter in the comics? It's insanity, but he keeps smiling through. And you know how much better his life would be if he were just to say, frick it, I'm not gonna be Spider-Man anymore. So much better, so much better. His life would be so much better, but he doesn't do that. His comics are full of dramatic moments that honestly play out like a comedic soap opera. The way this story is being told in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is very reminiscent of the way you read comics, at least the old comics, the old Spider-Man comics. These episodes feel less episodic, so there's not really a central story happening in each episode. It's just continuing the story, like I said, chapters in an overarching story. And I think that's how a Spider-Man show should be, just chapters of a longer story. So in that regard, I'm totally okay with 10 to 12 episodes of a live action show or even a cartoon like this, because we're focusing on just a few things happening at the same time without going crazy and having the villain of the week. There's none of that going on here. And honestly, I like it. But don't get me wrong, the show is surprisingly funny. It's not laugh out loud funny, but it has its moments that get you. It's more good vibes than anything. As I aforementioned, this was supposed to be the original origin story for the MCU Spider-Man before it was retooled into being its own thing. Because of that, there are a lot of MCU elements that have slipped through the cracks and made it their way to the final product. And you look at them and you're like, I see you. From the voice actor doing a Tom Holland impression to Aunt May looking a lot like Marissa Tomei to the do a flip guy. He gets a cameo. It's blink and you miss it, so you wouldn't want to miss it, and so much more. This honestly feels like the MCU's imaginative little brother, but it feels like entirely its own separate brand new thing. And as I said for TMNT, Mutant Mayhem, and for Skeleton Crew, this is a show that a younger generation can jump onto and relate to because of the usage of technology. Thankfully, any mention of actual real life social media is avoided. Only the influencer attitudes are left behind in this show, and it's honestly, it's done for laughs, and it's done well. It is done well. Millennials and younger generations will, I think, relate to these gags. And now let's talk about the characters. Now, with each incarnation of Spider-Man, I am always curious as to who they will pick and choose as obscure characters in the background or as friends for Peters, and typically the floaters end up being MJ, Harry, Gwen, Aunt May, and Flash Thompson. But aside from Aunt May and Harry for this show, none of the rest are anywhere to be seen. Again, this was an MCU origin story, so don't expect any of the other MCU characters to appear in this because they were not supposed to appear in this quite yet. But instead, we get the most wild card cast of characters I've ever seen. Legit, no spoilers, but keep your eyes on Lonnie Lincoln. Hardcore Spider-Man fans are probably doing a dramatic chipmunk moment. They're like, Lonnie Lincoln? No. But yeah, Lonnie Lincoln is getting some good screen time as well. So if you know who he is in the comics, then I'm guessing we're definitely headed towards his origin story. And I honestly can't wait for the inevitable to happen. I think you need to watch Pearl closely. Honestly, I think she's more of a nod to her character from the comics, especially because her hair is hued blue. Hilarious. Harry Osborn being fully rich boy Gen Z is everything to me. I don't know why nobody's thought of this until now. It's perfect. I just like the direction that they've chosen for this Harry Osborn. I think it's gonna be phenomenal. And now Nico Minoru. Now at first I was upset by her inclusion in this show because of what her character is in the comics, and she's super cool, and what they seemingly were turning her into for this show. Her character design, what the crap is this? In the comics, she's a magic user and is in possession of the Staff of One, which can allow her to cast magic spells, but the catch is that she can only cast each spell once. She can never repeat the same spell, and in order to cast a spell, she can only say one word. Staff of One. Get it? Now her staff is literally kept inside of hers, and in order to call upon the staff, she has to draw her own blood, which is the only way I can say it, and it can be ultra problematic nowadays. And Nico, in doing so, the staff then comes out of her and she's able to use it. She was part of the Runaways comic. It was a great comic. I have it behind me. It was then turned into honestly, an awesome TV show, but it was very loosely adapted from the comics. But I very much enjoyed it. I liked it, but you can't really watch it anywhere for some reason, but I'm gonna find it. But Nico here, well, honestly, we don't know that much about Nico. It's only 2 episodes, but I would guess that the purple pendant on her necklace, I'd keep one eye on that necklace. Again, I don't know anything about the show. I'm just theorizing after 2 episodes. And finally, Norman Osborn. Now, we don't get a lot of Norman Osborn between both episodes, but what we do get is juicy. That Coleman Domingo, man. He was both in my best and my least favorite movies of last year. Hilarious. And I'm a big Coleman Domingo fan, and here he is pulling all of the trips. He's making my skin crawl as Norman Osborn. It's honestly just a few lines, but he's really good. Again, I'm very intrigued by the direction of this Norman Osborn and of these Osborns, honestly. I'm hooked. Now the big question, how is my boy Peter Parker doing? Oh, mama, let me tell you, I was was stressed about this portrayal of Peter Parker. Again, I thought that they were gonna MCU-ify him to the max. Concerns were had, but alas, my filmer dudes, concerns no more. This version of Peter Parker feels like he was ripped right out of the comics. Sure, peppered in with some MCU seasoning, but he's the Peter Parker. The voice is a little weird at first, but his line delivery, especially during the fight sequences, on point. Hudson Thames is really nailing the quippy delivery. I just would like him to make this Peter more of his own, since he's no longer needing to do a Tom Holland impression. But by the way, did you catch it? This Spider-Man is insanely quippy. I'd honestly love for there to be a little bit more sass to his quips, but honestly, this is fine by me. But with the way this Peter was written, oh my gosh, I'm literally blown away. I'm blown away. There's one scene towards the end of the first episode that completely won me over, and it involves a burglar and pizza. Pizza time! But in that scene, I recognized my childhood best friend. Finally, we're getting an altruistic, absolutely pure Peter Parker that we've been lacking for years. And what do I mean by that? Well, in the comics, Peter Parker has this amazing positivity that he learned from his Uncle Ben and Aunt May. He's also suffered the greatest consequence of them all, losing Uncle Ben when he could have stopped the burglar from the very beginning. After that, it's really Spider-Man's quips and Peter Parker's wittiness that adds humor and levity to his overall story. But ultimately, Peter Parker is a kid who was forced to make tough choices at a young age, and he had to keep making tough choices ever since. He's someone who will always put others first, no matter what, no matter the consequences, even if it hurts his personal life. Even for the villains, Peter was always about the no killing. He did it first, and he was always about second chances. That's honestly why I'm okay with No Way Home, because Peter Parker would actually try his best at rehabilitating the villains before sending them back, even if it makes absolute no goddamn sense. That is the Peter that we get here. Compassionate, merciful, absolute, full of empathy. It's amazing. We're very much exploring Peter Parker as both a genius and a photographer, yet again, the photographer side is being pushed a little to the wayside, even though in the comics, it wasn't until he got to college that he was getting these science internships and other sciencey things. He was using photography to supplement his own income because he's Spider-Man. No one else can get angles like he can, so that's what he was doing. And honestly, it's because of Spider-Man, because of that first Spider-Man movie and photography, that I became a photographer, because I said I want to be like that too, and I was adorable. The MCU has not done the photographer side. The Andrew Garfield's kind of hinted at it, but I'm waiting for the photographer side again. I would love that. Honestly, I was surprised to hear from early reviews that this show is actually good, and I am shocked to say that. Gosh darn it, it is. At least the first 2 episodes are. Sure, first episode starts out a little rough, but it quickly hits the ground running and it kind of pulls you in. They're already making a season 2, so you might as well jump on board this early, so you don't have like a lot to catch up on later. Is this the best Spider-Man series to have been made? Honestly, I can't say yet because there's only 2 episodes, but also no. But I liked them. I liked the 2 episodes and I'm excited for more. Have you seen Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man episodes 1 and 2? If you have, what did you think of them? Let me know in the comments below. No spoilies. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. And my social media links are in the description below. And I will see you next time. You've just been Montified.